Alright, records of service, Okita, chapter 2. Low romance and high corruption is your recipe. Make him endure it, unfortunately. Okita, hang in there! He looked close to collapsing. I quickly got to my knees behind him and wrapped his chest with my arms. It became difficult for Okita to draw breath as the pain stretched through every inch of his body. What could I possibly do for him? I was helpless beside him, malcontent to wait idly by as I watched him scream bloody murder. I flinched from the howling bellow of his screams. If I had only given my blood, then he likely wouldn't have been in as much agony as he was.
僕は絶対に狂わない。狂っちゃダメなんだ。
I screamed through panted breaths. Okita! I felt as if someone was squeezing my lungs. I hugged his body close to me in a desperate fit. It was all I could do. On this particular night, Okita's episode lasted well until sunrise. As soon as his seizure began to ease, Okita had passed out from exhaustion. I wondered to myself how much more pain he would have to endure from here. Isn't there anything else I could do? What should I tell him? I don't want you to go. I understand where you're coming from, Okita, but to be honest with you, I don't want you to go.
そうだよね。ごめんね。
Okita said no more. It seemed that no matter what I could have said to him, his heart was set on going. However, if you plan on setting out to find Kondo-san, please take me with you. My words took Okita by surprise, and his eyes widened at my suggestion.
いいの。君にはしなきゃならないことがあるんじゃないの。
I owe Kondo-san so much for showing me kindness under his watch. And aside from that, I can't leave you alone.
そっか。ありがとう。
Button! Oh, hi, Hijikata! I forgot you come to visit us. What the she?
今すぐ決めろってのも無茶な相談か。もし困ったことがあれば松本先生を頼る。新政府もあの人には手出しできねえだろ。
What was it that he said before? That's a grudge. If you're still around, who knows what the hell they'll do to you. Alright, so basically we should probably get out of here. Maybe. Possibly. Okay. Thank you.
それじゃあ俺はもう行く。掃除のやつによろしくな。
Okita was being pushed to his absolute limit. Suddenly, Okita halted his movement, letting out a heavy groan. Okita? I noticed his wide shoulder frame begin to convulse violently. Oh no. Kazua's blade shined under the moonlight. Mate! Please, don't kill Okita!
見てわからんか。あの男はもはやお前が知っている人間ではない。
Even Even still, I beg of you! Whether or not Okita could safely retain his sanity was the least of my worries. Please! If Okita dies, I cannot bear to live another day! Kazuma was indifferent to my desperate pleas, and he puffed air from his lips as he stared down at me. Just then, Okita's cry was so disturbingly harsh that it was hard to believe it was human. My heart shattered. I don't think I've ever heard him scream like that ever. I was incredulous to think that Okita could be bested into one thing into which he had dedicated his entire life. I could only helplessly cover my eyes, but at the same time I couldn't peel my eyes off of him. After watching Kazuma's murderous display, I only saw the gleam of his blood-red eyes peeking through the darkness. Oh! I barely had any chance to move out of the way. A blade gleamed ominously in the light of the moon, and it flashed blindingly before my eyes. I'm sorry, Okita. I wish I could have saved you. Right, that was real short. Low romance and high corruption is your recipe. Don't die. Please don't die. This was the most I could muster, and my voice cracked raspily as the words came out.
心配してくれるのは嬉しいけどさ。僕が殺されるとでも思ってる?
Okita's swordsmanship was unparalleled, and I knew that few could come close to beating him in combat. But possessing a mastery of swordsmanship was not a guarantee of victory on the battlefield. To top it off, Okita's illness made him much, much weaker than he was at his physical peak.
心配しすぎだよ。何があっても僕は土方さんになんて負けないから。
Regardless of the outcome of their battle, there was no way Okita could die. At least, his smile seemed to promise me as much. Despite holding my grave concerns close to my heart, I could only nod kindly in return. Between us, there was a brief moment of silence. Suddenly, Okita had crumpled to the ground, and then... His hair turned white and his eyes turned red. Okita! Was he having another seizure? Oh no, to make matters worse. He seemed to be suffering in more agony than any of his previous episodes. I made him endure it. I hugged him tightly as he fought against the pain. Okita! It became harder for Okita to speak, and neither of us knew when his seizure nor his unbearable pain would cease. How much longer would Okita need to withstand this needless suffering? Okita had a high tolerance for pain, but a day would come where he would no longer be able to handle this on his own. My heart swelled restlessly and my anxiety. We had remained behind the bush, peeking to make sure there were no more troops nearby, but... Okita suddenly let out a pained outburst. His seizure had only just subsided, but now... Okita, please try to muffle yourself. If the enemy were to find us... Oh, this is bad. Okita gritted his teeth bitterly, trying his best to suppress himself from screaming out, but... A nearby Imperial soldier had overheard us, and I froze in fear. Despite our best efforts, we couldn't hide for long.
なんだ獣の声じゃないのか。確かに人の声だった。そこにいるんだろう。さっさと出てこい。
Oh no, we've been found. We're done for. Just as I contemplated the worst case scenario. Okita's roar howled like a wild beast, and behind his eyes was a burning ire. And then he leapt from the bushes, startling the soldiers who had scant a chance to ready themselves. The soldier reached for his rifle, but he was too slow for the incoming Okita. Okita slashed at his throat, and the soldier gurgled blood before his fingers even touched the trigger. To Okita, however, this was only the beginning. Okita viciously stabbed the soldier, who struggled to find air, over and over again, each strike working itself into his abdomen like a pin to a cushion.
おれ、化け物め!
The other soldier watched helplessly, trembling as he raised his rifle to fire at Okita, but it was no use. Okita hardly flinched as each bullet pierced his flesh, and he laughed maniacally in response. Holy shit! The soldier shook with fear for his life. Okita dashed swiftly behind him, slicing him from behind. As Okita's murderous cackle echoed around the hill, other soldiers arrived to avenge their men. In the blink of an eye, Okita wove through the troop, dismembering each soldier with gusto. He was covered head to toe in blood, drunk in his sadistic stupor as he drove his sword mercilessly into the fresh corpses, even if they were no longer moving. It was a cruel and humane display to witness for myself. Okita! I could no longer bear to watch him kill so wantonly, so I rushed over to him. I no longer saw the man I knew as Okita behind those red eyes of his. He had gone mad. I was convinced he would try and attack me, but when I got into his line of sight, he stopped moving, gazing silently at me with his blood-red eyes. Please, come back to me. Okita, you still have so much to do, remember? He sneered dubiously, and a drop of blood slid down his cheek that went unnoticed to him. And then...
Chizuru-chan.
He spoke my name clearly. Okita! Is it you? Is it really you? Just as I called out to him,
この化け物どもめ!
I heard an Imperial soldier shriek behind me. Then, suddenly... Whoa! As we get shot, I'm assuming, a loud bang rang from his rifle. Suddenly, my vision became blurry. I struggled to hold onto my vision, and I felt my body give way as I fell to the ground. What just happened? My hands were on the dirt, and I couldn't bring myself to stand. I had no strength in me.
Chizuru-chan! しっかりして!
Okita screamed from right beside me, but everything was slowly enveloping in darkness, and I could no longer make out Okita's face, even though it was only inches in front of me. I'm so sorry, Okita. I guess this means I can't be by your side after all. Alright. We're gonna go through this slowly, so I'm not hitting the skip button. The bad ending is... Excuse me? High romance. Low corruption. Is that what? Huh? Alright. I'm trusting you, guide. Let's go. That's your recipe for this bad ending. I gotta act this out again. I just want to do that. I would. Another dizzy spell pulsed in my head. It became difficult to see clearly. My heartbeat had one ferocious pound, and then... Suddenly, I craved blood. I craved Okita's blood. My cravings began to dominate my mind, as if my entire body screamed to tear Okita limb from limb. See, drinking the water of life is not the best thing you could do. Unfortunately, we were forced to drink it the last time. It was an animalistic desire that became impossible to resist with each passing moment. The thirst came from within. It was innate, and it needed to be quenched immediately. My forehead burned unbearably all of a sudden. I instinctively reached to touch it when my fingers felt something firm. Oh no, what was this? My hair, which was tied into a bun atop my head, became undone and fell to my shoulders. From the corner of my eye, I saw my hair flicker. It turned white. No! No! I shook violently from fear. As I reached to touch my forehead once more, I felt two horns begin to poke through the flesh, slowly inching themselves above the surface. No. Am I really a demon? Was this because of the water of life? White hair and horns stabbing through my forehead? My soul, my body, both were becoming corrupted by the seren's poisonous effects. The pain was abruptly punctuated by a desperate thirst. A tickling sensation began to irritate every inch of my skin, making me want to scratch uncontrollably. No! Then a hand gently grabbed a hold of my shoulders. I was too embarrassed to let Okita see me like this, and I couldn't bear to turn and face him. Don't look at me. Okita was silent. Please, don't look at me. After I let out my sheepish whimper, he responded with a calm demeanor.
千鶴ちゃん、血が欲しいの？
No, I can't! All I could do was shake my head, fighting helplessly to suppress my cravings. He grabbed both of my arms and forced me to face back at him. There he was. In front of me stood a demon who resembled what I was slowly transforming into. However, he had no horns on his head. But just like me, his hair turned white, and he looked ravenous for the taste of blood. I wasn't alone. The knowledge of this overwhelmed me. I wasn't alone.
僕の羅刹の血は君を今以上に羅刹に近づけてしまうかもしれない。
Okita breathed in a strained, panting staccato.
それだけは少し怖いけど、でも君が望むなら僕は拒まない。
Okita, Well, since we haven't picked it and it's the actual correct answer, I want blood. I need your blood, Okita. I didn't know how much longer I could tolerate the pain of my cravings.
そう分かった
Are we getting the reverse? Oh, for the love of God, please tell me this has a CG. Okita smiled warmly, unsheathing his wakizashi from its short scabbard. Then he swiftly set the edge of the tiny blade across his left thumb before offering me a taste. I watched a drop of blood race down the length of his thumb in slow motion as it gradually increased in size and thickness before dropping to the ground. The scent of the blood stung my nostrils, wafting towards me with growing intensity.
いいよ千鶴ちゃん我慢しないで
I wordlessly lunged forward, intimately wrapping my lips around his bloody appendage. Did we have to use appendage? That is just the weirdest fucking word to say. Just say thumb. As the first luscious drop landed on my tongue, the pain disappeared, and in its place, a languid calm. I became entranced by its saccharine taste. With each determined sip, I fell deeper and deeper into this stupor, and I was so close to Okita. Was this how... A button! Was this how he felt when he drank my blood? All this time when he licked and slurped so eagerly from my flesh, was he too captivated by his taste? Okita, you too. As I reluctantly moved my lips from his thumb, I drew him in closer and whispered coolly into his ear.
ありがとう
His eyes thin and he held his wakizashi again. This time he slithered the freshly used sword against the length of my carotid artery along my neck. Blah, blah. I shut my eyes tightly. At first I winced as he broke the skin, and then I felt the touch of his warm, succulent lips. Can I skip this now? No, I can't. Feeling the slight pinch of his favorite sucking filled me with a wholesome comfort. I felt relief. Hold the fucking phone for a minute. 1, just getting that. 2, why is this the only time we get to see Chizuru in her actual form? I'm mad. I am somewhat mad. Our lips were stained red, lost in the passionate throes of our bloodthirsty cravings as we took turns gulping mouthfuls of each other's juices. Did we have to use juices? It was inhuman display, unlike anything I'd ever believed myself capable of. And yet, despite how it may have looked, it was sublime, and I basked in glee. If I had to endure this experience alone, I think the idea of such a display would paralyze me into inaction. But I wasn't alone. Okita too had submitted to this carnal impulse, and together we engorged into each other's body. I didn't care if my mind would descend into madness from the effects of the serum. I fell captive to the taste of Okita's metallic blood, and I found myself becoming enchanted by its alluring aroma. Oh! I just noticed her ears are pointed. I guess when you're a demon, your ears become pointed? I've noticed this on Sen. I haven't noticed this on Kazuma, actually, to be fair. I should probably look at it the next time we see Kazuma. Actually, I don't think we will, actually. I didn't expect it. I didn't expect that. Game. I said, say nothing and accept them. Yep, that's exactly what I'm doing. It's fine. I mustered whatever courage I could to answer hastily.
大丈夫って何が
So, if you wish to do so, Okita...
望むなら何
His tone was beginning to edge on the side of mockery, and I couldn't hold it in for much longer. This is why I think you're mean, Okita.
僕だって誰かで構わずこんなことをお願いするわけじゃないよ。
お前たちごとき、俺一人でも簡単に倒せるけど。
Where the fuck is this word?
せっかくの機会だ。行動おじさんが完成させた羅刹の力を見せてやろうか。
しかし
起きただけ狙わせればいいだろう。それくらいの正気は保ってるんだよね。
Father stared off in contemplation, but eventually... He put two fingers in his mouth, whistled loudly as if to signal a nearby individual. Can we actually have a natural whistle and not a snap, please? And then an eerie sight came to our attention. Before we knew it, dozens of red eyes shined through the darkness. That all those eyes belonged to Furies? It wasn't just 10 or even 20 of them. Father, Koda! Just how many people have you sacrificed for your experiments with the water of life?
俺たちの王国を作るためだよ。必要な犠牲さ。それに、おじさんの実験台になって死んだ羅刹よりも。多分、安静のコロリ騒ぎで死んだ人間の数の方が多いんじゃないか。
We got a genius over here. All encyclopedia. I didn't. Is it just. Did I just need to look at them? Huh? Well, I got that achievement out of the way, I guess. During the Ansai era, a vicious strain of cholera swept through Japan, killing thousands.
虫を踏み潰すたびに悲しんでたら、キリがないよ。
Kaoru acted so coolly, which only set off my anger. No matter how many injustices were committed against Kaoru, it was no excuse for the atrocities both he and father were committing.
羅刹化したって言ってもさ、誰もが僕たちみたいに強くなれるわけじゃないよね。剣の心得がろくにない人間に落ち水を飲ませたところで、弱い人間は弱いままだ。それなのに、こんなに数ばっかり増やしちゃって、ご苦労様。
それはどうかな。残念だけど、お前の目論見通りにはいかないと思うよ。
Kaoru signaled overhead and father whistled once more.
お前たちに餌をあげよう。その男を殺してしまいなさい。
Upon father's signal, all of the Furies emerged from the bush behind. I can't.
千鶴ちゃん、下がってて。
None of this is skippable, is it? Nope. Alright, let's go. Good. But
大丈夫だよ。僕はこんな奴らに殺されるほど弱くないから。
true, Okita's skill made it unlikely for any of those Furies to pose any significant threat to him, but a lingering sense of dread wouldn't leave my mind, and it was impossible to shake the feeling. Okita, however, unsheathed his sword confidently. The Furies sprinted towards him like moths to a flame, perhaps attracted by the shine of his sword. Okita wasted no breath, using one concise slash to subdue the first wave of incoming Furies. I had noticed, however, that these Furies were far stronger than anything I saw with the Shinsengumi. seemed to be a non-issue for Okita, who cut limb from limb in each fury with gusto.
この羅刹たちがいれば鬼の王国を作れるとか言ってたっけ。この程度じゃ難しいんじゃ。
Ah! Freaking A button. Anyway, he said,
この程度じゃ難しいんじゃないかな。僕一人でも一時あれば片付けられそうだし。
this was no simple boast. What Okita said was true. Well, the fury started around him in the hopes of getting the better of his defenses to find an opening. Okita was twice as quick, killing each with aplomb. At this rate, I would not have been surprised to see Kaoru and Father Skull undone in minutes. In the back of my mind, I was still worried. Okita was a fury, and as the blood of his enemies drenched him like a torrential storm, I knew it was only a matter of time before his cravings would strike. No sooner than when the thought entered my head, Okita suddenly halted in place. Okita? Anxiously, I called out to him. The gurgling scream of a nearby fury was soon followed by a visceral splatter of fresh blood. This sadly was not enough. Okita began stabbing the fresh corpses that littered the ground around his feet. Ah, so we're going this route. The foul metallic scent of blood became thick. Oh no.
とうとう血に狂ったか。まあ、人間にしては頑張った方かもな。
No! Okita was growing mad with bloodlust. No, this can't be happening. But... Okita! I screamed his name and he slowly turned his head around to glance back at me. However, I saw no hint of sanity within his dilated eyes. He was drunk from the scent of blood. I was shaking violently, and out of nervousness, I ran towards Okita. From behind me, I could hear Father calling out my name. I grabbed at Okita's sleeves once I reached him. Okita! Refusing to believe that he was lost in bloodlust, I repeated his name, hoping he would come to. Then...
Chizuru-chan.
He muttered my name from under his breath. Oh, I was so elated to hear it. Underneath this madness, he was still the same Okita. Or was he? Something cold and sharp was forced through my chest.
Chizuru!
Father's voice echoed behind me. Everything went quiet, except for the burning sensation in my chest, then the pound of my heart. Eventually, the blade of my chest came into focus just seconds before it was yanked out. Feeling began to leave my legs, and before I knew it, I collapsed to the floor. I attempted to stand, but no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't move my arms or my legs, nor could I rise. Although I'd expected the temperate summer winds to breeze by, I was suddenly shivering from cold. Just then,
Chizuru-chan.
a shaky voice echoed above where I was lying. It was Okita, whose eyes were no longer stained red with madness. While initially I took comfort from this thought, I still had a sense of dread in me. Because...
Chizuru-chan! しっかりして! 僕はなんてことを!
Not only would I no longer be able to remain beside Okita, I knew that he would regret having put his blade through my chest.
大丈夫。君一人だけを行かせたりはしない。僕もすぐに後を追っていくから。先に行って待っててね。 千鶴ちゃん。
Ow! My heart! Those were the last words I heard from him. Jesus. That hurts. Oh, that hurts.